Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is a city rich in tradition and history. On a cold and windy night in late February, a group of almost 70 Ultimate players are hoping to get in on the ground floor of a new tradition and hopefully make some history along the way. The Philadelphia Spinners, one of the 8 inaugural American Ultimate Disc League teams, hosted their first open tryouts on the last weekend in February 2012. The crowd of handlers, cutters, deeps, and defenders showed up to strut their stuff, but only 20 will be making it to the Spinners' first roster.
For years, I think this is a great opportunity. I wish it was around 10 years ago when I started playing.
Assistant coach Bill Maroon, a proponent of the sport and elite Masters and Grandmasters player, was pleased with the tryout despite the trying weather.
It was great to see the high level of talent that we knew were going to show up, but also young guys who are hungry, who got to measure themselves against the top level in the region. They got to see what it was like to be on the field with those guys.
The man each attendee wanted to impress was Philly native Jeff Snader, head coach and general manager of the Spinners.
Guys, some great talent, some unexpected talent, young guys that came out that had some really nice athleticism. And you know, I'm a little crazy in the fashion that I like it when it's cold and windy, and to see if guys really want it. And it was a great mix. I mean, everybody was in there working their butt off, and that's motivating to me. So just to see that the Philly atmosphere was that inspired, that was a great experience for me and the whole staff, I think.
Snader played for the team AMP from 2000 to 2007, making 4 national showings, peaking with a 3rd place finish in his last season. After taking a few years off, Snader returned to coach Southpaw in 2010 and 2011, earning a spot at nationals in both years. He's definitely no stranger to the sport. Snader and the other coaches had a fun but strenuous tryout scheduled. It was very well organized too. At 7 p.m. a huddle was called, and he let the players in on a little bit of what he expected from the guys that will end up filling the roster.
Warm up.
A quick warm-up followed. A few prepared for the workout ahead by stretching in groups. Most tried to stay focused by warming up solo. There were no complaints about the weather.
I'm loving it. It's a little, cold and windy, but it just means you got to work a little harder, and I'm enjoying the chance to do that.
After warm-ups, the coach split everyone into 4 groups for station drills. Each of the 4 drills were meant to show the respective assistant coaches the players' skill levels. Everything was being analyzed by them and head coach Snader, who visited each station. The first drill, called the baseball drill, tested throwing accuracy and stamina. A single player was fed discs as they ran between 3 cones that were laid out in a triangle shape. At each wide cone, they had to catch, turn, and hit a moving target. Those were the rest of the players that were in that squad. First, the cutters came under. Then, when everybody had gone through, they immediately transitioned to deep cuts. All the while, the handler never stopped moving and throwing to the targets. At the next station, the players were going head-to-head with one another. One line was designated offense and the other defense, as the assistant coach either threw deep to the offensive player or signaled for that player to fake deep and come under. The third station was a simple game of mini ultimate, a 3-on-3 game with a scaled-down field. This exercise emphasized quick cuts, pinpoint throwing accuracy, and cohesion between players. The final drill, backed way in the corner, was the most basic of all of them, the standard go-to drill. Each different round of the drill concentrated on foresight throws, break throws, and finally throwing against a straight-up mark. Once all the groups had gone through every drill station, which took a little less than an hour and a half, there was a quick water break while the coaches set up the endurance test.
65, 7.5, 20 meters.
During the explanation of the beep drill, it didn't seem like much. Only after the trial started did everyone understand just how difficult it truly was.
Tonight, the hardest part was definitely the beep drill, and I'm more of a sprint type of guy than a long distance slash endurance, but that was definitely the hardest part for me.
Stripped down, the concept of the beep drill is simple. Don't make it to the line twice in a row, and you're out. Until then, keep running. How it works was one of the assistant coaches blew a whistle in increments, and players had that much time to get from one marker to the other, a distance of about 20 meters. After a couple jogs back and forth, the players moved on to the next level.
Stage 3!
And at every level, the time between each whistle blast got shorter. Overall, the beep drill lasted about 15 exhausting minutes. There were a huge number of dropouts around level 9. Only a couple players made it to level 12, which is considered pro-level fitness. That was doubly impressive to Snader, considering the colder conditions. Another well-deserved break, and then the real fun began, scrimmaging. Snyder made a point to mention that this could be the turning point for a lot of players he was on the fence about. 2 fields were set up for play. For simplicity and space, they counted off standard 11th edition sized fields. In the AUDL, the field size has been changed to 53 1/3 yards across, with 20-yard deep end zones. Between each end zone spans an increased 80 yards of pitch, which makes it the same size as a football field.
I think people think it's going to change the game a little more than I think it is. If it were indoor and every game were indoor, I think it really would affect stuff a lot more. But if you got some wind out there, it's still hard to cross a 50-yard field in width. I don't think it's necessarily going to cut down on Ds either. Again, most of the games are outdoor, so I think it's going to be a similar game to what it was.
Some other changes to the rules include active call referees at every game that handle everything from travel calls, which now result in a turnover, to stall count, which has been lowered from a 10 count to 7 seconds, to fouls. These particular changes were applied to the scrimmage that night, throwing some players slightly off their game.
I felt that it was more watchable for people watching because we just stepped in and made the call instead of having people have these conversations on the field about what the rule is, what the rule isn't. Did I do this? Did I not do that? I think it's going to be more watchable.
Speaking with some of the guys after the tryouts wrapped up, which was about 10:30 at night, it seemed most are optimistic about the new league.
I think USA Ultimate, I mean, they've done a great job for the sport, but you know, there's absolutely room for improvement, and you know, having another league out there that pushes them is nothing but a great thing. You know, hopefully it pushes them to make the sport better on their end, and you know, if this thing works out, you know, hopefully they can both coexist. But you know, I don't see anything negative about it.
That's awesome!
The AUDL's first round of games are scheduled for April 14th. The Spinners will be playing on their home turf at Franklin Field versus the Buffalo Hunters. Before that, though, the coaching staff is going to have to finalize the Spinners' first roster, which will be publicly announced on March 17th, along with a press conference, player jersey presentation, and contract signings. Final tryouts are on March 10th. The entire Spinners staff has lofty expectations for the season.
Hardcore goal is to win the championship. I mean, the first season's only going to happen once. I'm not a guy that wants to aim for second place. I'm not a guy who makes, you know, kind of realistic, quote-unquote goals. I want to win the championship. I want to have the best team in the AUDL, and I want to win it hands down. So that's the goal.
Making history is not so far out of reach for this new team in the recently formed AUDL. In this city of brotherly love, every person associated with the Philadelphia Spinners is going to have to work together to see these goals through.